Welcome into Chicago Hockey Radio, everybody. First episode. How's everybody feeling today? We got Lee Grossman and host Justin Lynch on the mics.
Let's go.
I'm co-host Tassos Kirkos. Welcome to Chicago Hockey Radio, everybody. 2024-2025 hockey season. Obviously, we're live right now on YouTube. This is also going to be available Monday, Wednesday, Friday. We're going to do Wednesday and Friday mornings, and we're going to do Monday lives in the afternoon at around 4:15, 4:30. We're a little late today because it took me a bit of time to figure this out. I am in the producer's chair, elegantly figuring this out for our co-hosts. I'm going to bring them on in a second here, but I did just want to let it rip off the hop here for a second. But Chicago's inaugural season of this show, we're ready to get after it. Justin, let's hear from you first, and then we'll get Lee in the mix. Sorry, Lee.
It's okay.
Yeah, no, I'm excited to be here. For those of you who know me from Bjork Memes, Blackhawks Instagram memes account, that's how these fine people here found me. And I'm excited to get
Thank
going.
God.
I've been a Blackhawks fan my whole life, and I'm just really excited to cover this team more in depth and bring my exuberant personality into display. So thank you for that.
I love that.
What do you got?
Beautiful. Who, me?
Yeah, you.
Man, I am so pumped. I'm so glad to finally be chopping it up with Justin.
Oh yeah.
I'm pumped to see how the show does. I think we're gonna have a lot of fun doing this, and I hope that folks listening and watching enjoy what we have to say or don't enjoy it. It doesn't matter either way, just as long as you're listening.
Exactly.
I'm excited to see how this grows and kind of just excited to cover this team this year, because I feel like we have hope. We see where this team is heading. So that's why we're doing this, because we're all excited to talk about this team and what KD has built.
Exactly. This is a great time to be a Blackhawks fan. It's only up from here.
Mm-hmm.
This is also our first 3-person show on the network too. And it could be more, like, you know what I mean? Like, these are the 3 hosts of the show. But if we bring anybody on as a guest, or, you know, somebody else is producing and I can just host with Lee a little bit, you know. But this is our first 3-person show. Yeah.
That's right. Only up from here. We're just growing.
3 people is going to be way more fun. This is like a good team. I mean, just from a business point of view, like we were talking before of just how much we could do here and how much fun it is going to be connecting with the community. You know, this is a team on the rise. And sorry, I need to look at this computer camera. I'm looking at these guys in the Zoom. Yeah, I don't know. What do you think, Justin? I mean, we're going to get into the team, but just being able to connect with the community and maybe like get together with some of your fans. We've talked about some fun stuff, doing like tailgates eventually, right?
I like the concept of that, just kind of getting more involved with like the Hawks community. It's a very passionate one, and a lot of people just know me as some guy who makes, you know, some mid memes on the internet, but it's like I actually have some knowledge to display that hopefully come across. And I'm just excited to be able to share that and talk more about this team. This team is my life, and Blackhawks hockey is what I'm most passionate about. It may sound but it's true. I love this team. I love covering it, and I can't wait to work with you guys.
Yeah, I think the sick thing also about this crew is that, I don't know, we're all so different, and I think we all bring different things to the show. So it'll be fun to bounce ideas and talk shit and disagree and fight and, you know,
I mean,
after
it would be boring if we agree on everything all the time, and hopefully we'll have some good debates.
Yeah, no, I don't think we will.
I think we already got some things we might disagree with in this one. We'll see. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we should also mention we're also going to be live after every single Blackhawks game this season, regular season. They start up on October 7th against the Utah Hockey Club, correct?
Yes,
so,
right.
Either 3 of us or 2 of us, you know, whatever it is, will be on here. Cover whatever 2 of us you get. You know, you're gonna have
watch us. Don't watch the Blackhawks post game show.
Yeah,
that's we're not gonna tell you just what you want to hear. We're going to tell you what you need to hear.
That's it. It's the honesty, you know. We're not working for the Blackhawks. We're just passionate fans saying how we really feel, you know. We're not filtered.
Watch both. And look, there are some really cool people. Well, like watch us first, you know, and then watch them after. But I think there's you know, a lot of people here that really do cover the Hawks really well. And there are people that are like on it, and people do care about it a lot here, the hockey team here.
Mhm.
But I will say that I don't think it's for the size of the hockey market. I don't think there is enough people covering it. I don't think there are enough people like getting a real pulse on this team and really caring and talking about it in that way. And maybe that's a bit of like a young bias from us that maybe we just don't see it, or maybe we don't listen to some of the older guys as much. But yeah, I just think that there's like tremendous space for everybody here to kind of.
I completely agree, and I'm sure Justin has had this experience like as a fan. Like the
Oh, for
past,
sure.
I can't even think like past 5 or 6 years. It feels like every off season leading up to drafts and stuff. I'm always like every day I'm like googling like trade rumors.
Oh yeah.
I'm trying to find YouTube videos of people giving their opinions and talking about the Hawks, and it's like there's
It's
like
dry.
it's so dry. It's like
Yeah.
there's one podcast,
Chicago guys are good. Yeah.
yeah, but they haven't even been doing it that long. And it's like, there's I think we're not the only ones that feel this way.
Oh
So
yeah. No.
I hope people that are looking for this kind of content find us and appreciate what we're trying to offer.
Yeah. Appreciate our fresh faces and perspectives.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So, yeah. But what do you think, Tassos? Want to get into this prospect showcase games that
Yeah, I
let's get into it.
Justin watched probably. I watched like bits and pieces of some of the games. I was trying to like, bounce around to a lot of teams' other games. Like I watched a lot of like a Carolina Florida game. Carolina came back in just because I'm interested in some of their young players, and yeah. So I don't know. I didn't catch as much of it obviously as you guys did, or Justin did at the very least. But I know
Watched
you're
both
really
games.
heavy on Frank Nazar and the way
Oh
he
yeah. Frank the
played.
Tank baby.
But like you feel that kid can and will step into the lineup this year, right out of camp.
Absolutely, I think he will. I've seen a lot of people saying, "Oh, he's got to be in Rockford," and I disagree. I think if he shows he's ready, I think so far he has. I think there's nothing that should stop him from taking a spot in this lineup and maybe even potentially being the number two center. Maybe you start him off lower and kind of build him up to it. But I think he could be the number two center in this Hawks team this year. He looked great in the prospect showcase this weekend. First game, definitely shaking off the rust a little bit, but second game, he looked like an NHL player. I mean, he was by far the best player on the ice, and you could tell even just those few games of experience in the season last year really benefited him. And yeah, I think he's ready to go, and I think he's going to challenge for a spot. I mean, if my gut feeling tells me he could start the season in the AHL, but I think he absolutely can challenge for a spot. And Kyle Davidson said as much at the showcase, so really
Yeah.
excited to see it progress.
Sorry to cut you. And no, I completely agree. Also, what we've seen Kyle Davidson do with these young guys already is like he's not been shy to put them to play games in the NHL.
Of course.
Like Korchinski played this entire year, Bedard played the entire year. Like I don't think he's going to keep him in the AHL just because that's like the status quo. You let your youth develop in Rockford. I think if he feels like Nazar can compete at the level, he's gonna let him play.
Yeah, I think that's the move. I mean, if
Yeah.
you graduated Korchinski last year, they're in the same draft class, same age. So
Yeah.
what should stop Nazar from playing this year if he's ready? I know they signed all those vets, but like I look at the roster and that number two center spot still seems very open to me. Yes, Jason Dickinson could be that guy, but I think the Hawks would prefer it to be Nazar and Dickinson be the third line center. But that's a topic for later.
Yeah.
Who else stood out to you at the prospect stuff? I know, we were talking about AJ Spellacy before, and some of these other kids that they had playing. Like I know Lardis was pretty good, and I'm pretty high on him. Greek kid, I have to be. But who did you like? Who from what you saw?
I'd say from the second game, Mishiak had a really good game. His first game, he struggled a bit, but the second, he had this beautiful Kane-like saucer pass to Frank Nazar, and that was brilliant. He also had an empty netter, but I thought he looked pretty solid the second game. Lewinsky's another guy, Paul Lewinsky. I think he's one of our more underrated prospects. I like what I saw from him. In terms of more established guys, I thought Slaggert was good, not great. I mean, considering he's 22, 23 years old and is, coming off 4 years of college hockey, you kind of expect him to dominate that kind of showcase. And I thought he was good, but considering he has 16 games of NHL experience, maybe would have expected a little more from him. I expect with all these vet signings we have, it'll probably be with Ice Dogs this year, but I'd love to see him prove me wrong and challenge for a spot because I really like his game. And yeah, like you said, Lardis looked great in the first game. Unfortunately, didn't play in the second. But yeah, those are some of the guys who stood out. Del Mastro was another one. First game struggled, but the second game definitely looked like the player we saw with Ice Hawks last year in his first pro season.
I didn't get to watch the whole games. I just watched highlights. Justin, how did Colton Dock look? Because
Oh,
he had an
yeah.
assist in the first game that was like unbelievable, like a cross ice saucer pass. I was like, oh my god. But then I didn't really see much of him in the highlights in the second game. How did he look just in the other areas of the ice?
Yeah, I would say he was more noticeable in the first game. I mean, the main thing I noticed is both games, he's just absolute animal, this guy. Like the physicality, it's unbelievable the way he plays. I mean, he looked like Chris Kreider at one point, ramming into the Wild's prospects goalie. So, yeah, no, definitely a very aggressive player. And I think he seems to be very confident that he could challenge for a spot. But I mean, who's he going to beat out, though? I mean, of all the vet signings we have, and also he's not going to beat out Nazar or Slaggert amongst younger players. So I think he's an ice hog this year. And I think the injury last year probably didn't help. But I think I like what I saw from him, though. I think maybe next year he could challenge for a spot, but this year I think he's going to be a nice hog. Yeah.
Do you see like similarities between him and Kirby Doc, or is he like an entirely different player? Like,
I'd say he's not afraid to use his body. I mean, not that Kirby he occasionally would, but he seems more comfortable with using his body. I'd say
he
he
like
doesn't seem so, he doesn't seem so awkward out there sometimes like Kirby did, but he doesn't have the skill that he obviously doesn't have the skill that Kirby does though.
okay, all right. I
Any
guess
other
that's
thoughts? What about the goaltending? Drew Comesso?
It was okay in the first game. A little shaky, to be honest. The overtime goal was a bit soft. But Del Mastro had a breakaway leading up to that. The game should have been over at that point, but he just whiffed on the breakaway shot. So, but Camasso was all right. He didn't play the second game. I think Benjamin Gaudreau did. I don't even think. I think he just has an AHL contract. So, yeah.
and it really does suck that we didn't get to see Levchinov.
Yeah, that blow.
I
When I
think we
saw
have to
that
talk
news.
about that.
Yeah, that was really unfortunate. Yeah, it sounds like according to Elliot Friedman, he might be out for a maximum 6 weeks, and that's a shame because that means he's going to be out. He missed the showcase, going to miss training camp, going to miss the preseason, and he might even miss the start of the AHL season. I don't think it changes much in the long term. I think he was going to be on the Ice Hogs this year. I know
Yeah.
some people thought he could challenge for a spot, but I think he was going to be an Ice Hog anyway. But just losing some of that time is unfortunate. But thankfully, the injury doesn't sound super serious. I don't think they're that concerned about it. He'll be fine.
Yeah, and honestly, if he can bounce back, and if he looks really good in Rockford, I could see him playing the second half of the season, maybe in that 5 or 6 defenseman spot. Um, Again, going back to KD, like he wants to see the guys that he's drafting play on the team,
Mhm.
So I wouldn't be surprised if, especially since he signed the entry level deal, I wouldn't be surprised if we see him on the Hawks at the end of the year.
Oh, I totally agree. I mean, they did it with Del Mastro this year. He had a good season in Rockford. They wore him for a couple games at the end of the year. I think you'll see the same, probably more so with Levchinov. I would be surprised if post trade deadline, let's say, I don't know, one of Martinez or Brody is traded. Whoever has the 1 year deal, I think it's Martinez, and that opens up a spot for Levchinov. Like, there you go. I think if he plays well enough, there's nothing that stops them from giving him a trial run this year.
I almost think the injury means like that's kind of almost an excuse for the Hawks to keep him up with the team a little bit. Might be a reason that he may get a couple games out of the gate. I know that may sound a little wild, but that's not like totally unheard of sometimes where, like Beckett Seneca is hurt right now for the Anaheim Ducks, the kid they picked third overall. And he's a monster, but he needs another year. I would put him down for another year back with the Generals. But he's hurt, and he's same on the same kind of timeline as Levchinov, and so I think maybe Beckett Seneca maybe gets a handful of NHL games before they send him back that maybe he wouldn't have, just because he's there, he's doing the rehab, he's with the team a whole lot, and I kind of think that might play out for Levchinov a little bit. I also, I was gonna say like I'm asking you about these guys, but it's hard to like get a gauge. First of all, I wanted to put out there for everybody. This is preseason for all of us, like even us on the Chicago Hockey Radio side of things. We're learning, we're figuring this out. Like I said, it took me 20 minutes to figure out how to go live with us. And we're going to work through this. We're all in different places. That's not going to be the case a lot of the time. Like Justin's in his senior year of college, and Lee lives like not too far away from me in the city. So, and Justin is also going to come back for breaks. You know, we are going to do these live events. You know, we're going to do some fun stuff. You know, maybe some live shows or meetups or whatever. You know, the Winter Classic is here. That's a big deal. We'll be doing shows, all three of us together too, a lot of the time.
Yeah. And dude, it's like, it's episode 1/2.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. But it's preseason for all of us. So like, you know, you can't judge these kids. You can't judge these kids too hard.
We're going to get into it.
Yeah.
You know.
Back to the hockey. Like, you can't judge these kids off of like how they played a couple games. If they played well, I guess you could judge them maybe a little bit more, as in like, hey, these guys are ready to go. Like, this kid had a really good summer. You know, he's ready to take that next step. But if somebody played bad, I don't think you could really hold it against them a whole heck of a lot in these games.
Oh yeah, I mean, you can only take away so much of these prospect showcase games. They're more just to shake the rust off and give these kids a chance to kind of play in that kind of environment. So, but no, Frank the Tank days are insane aura. I think if there's any prospect that's a chance of making the Hawks this year who wasn't on the team last year, it's him. Man.
Have you seen some of the videos of these kids like beating the brakes off each other in these games? Like, they fight a lot in these games.
I've seen they've been scrapping a little bit.
They always fight a lot in these games, I feel like, and it's just because it is a first impression thing, you know. First impression is a lasting one. So yeah, I don't know. A lot of these guys are, you know, chucking bombs.
Did you hear what Frank Nazar said?
Yes.
After the Wild game, he right before the the goal that he got the assist on, where he took the
massive hit,
and he kind of taunted their bench. He was like, I mean, yeah, if you're gonna step up to a guy in that situation, you're an idiot because you're gonna let a guy go on breakaway. He said that after the game.
It just shows his hockey IQ. He's not just a talented player. Like, he has the intelligence, and it just goes to show that guy. He's over time, you just can't help but love him. He just has such a great personality.
I love a guy who's gonna like be a little bit of a weasel and like talk shit. You know, I love personality. I think that's like a big problem with growing the game of hockey. Honestly, is you look at other sports that are more popular than hockey. You have more personality. I feel like hockey is always so like media trained. Like, yeah, pucks in deep. You know, we got to work hard, stick to the game plan. You know, you don't have people calling other guys idiots for making bad plays, you know, and I want to see more of that. I love
jumping off the personality thing. Have you guys been watching Connor Bedard's weekly NFL live streams on Instagram?
It's been hilarious.
Yeah. It just goes to show everybody was like last year, you know, we have all the cameras and the media. But Bedard had that up his ass 24/7 last year, and people would say he's a robot, no personality. And you see him chilling for his friends, and I mean, he's just so fun to listen to, man. You can see he's got that personality. It's nice to see him not being afraid to showcase that and be himself, you know, without the cameras on him.
Yeah, I also just think that's a thing, like with the league. There's like unwritten rules that you don't say and like act certain ways.
Oh yeah.
And it's just so old school. And it's like, if you want to follow that, fine, but you're not going to grow a league that way. You're not going to have superstars on the level that you see in other sports.
Yeah, you don't see this in the NBA and the NFL. Like, players are more allowed to showcase themselves.
Yeah.
Hockey is just so the PR is just, they just dumb you down so much at the person. You're just not allowed to show anything. But it was cool to see that.
No, I concur. I completely agree with you. Do you guys want to, I know we talked about this earlier, but I would love to go through and kind of take turns filling out what we think the Blackhawks starting lineup should be.
Oh yeah, for sure.
For the first game, and why.
Yeah, I like that. Would you like to go first? Or do you want me to go first?
Sounds like Lee wants to go first.
All right, I'll go first. Do you want me to go first?
Yeah, go first.
Yeah, go for it.
All right, so I'm looking at Daily Face-Off right now. I'm going to kind of mix some stuff here, swap some stuff. So
do you want to read what they have first?
Yeah, so for their first line, they have Connor Bedard as the center, Teuvo Teravainen on the right, Tyler Bertuzzi on the left. Second line is Andreas Athanasiou in the middle, Philip Khrushchev on the right, Taylor Hall on the left. Third line, Dickinson center, Mikheyev on the right, Foligno on the left. Fourth line, Donato centering, Craig Smith on the right, and Reichel on his left. And then deep pairings, you got Vlasic and Jones, Korchinski and Murphy, and Martinez and Brody. So right away, I think first line, I'm going to go Bedard, Khrushchev on the right, and then Bertuzzi or Hall, but I'm going to say Bertuzzi to start. That's my first line. And then my second line, I'm going Jason Dickinson as your two center. I'm going Teravainen as your right wing and Taylor Hall on the left. And my idea for that is that line, I think Jason Dickinson is a really good NHLer and a great two-way player and responsible and can, solid, can really compete against anyone. I think you use that line almost as your number one line. Send Jason Dickinson's line out against other teams' top lines. Get the matchups like that so that you can have Bedard and Kurashev and Bertuzzi working against, maybe the second or third line of teams. Just so that you're not, you're giving them different looks. And also, I just think that a Hall, Dickinson, Teravainen line can compete against anyone, really. And then third line, I'm going to say I'm taking Donato out and I'm putting in Frank Nazar. But I think third line, I'm going to go Nazar, Foligno, Mikheyev. And then my fourth line, I'm going to do Reichel, Athanasiou, and Craig Smith. Just because I think Reichel playing with a guy like Athanasiou makes sense. Just a lot of speed. Reichel's got to have a bounce back year.
Yeah, for real, man.
We all know
there's no excuses this year.
Yeah, he's got to do something, which maybe burying him on the fourth line is not the best idea. Maybe swapping him with Nick Foligno on that third line, playing with Nazar, playing with Mikheyev, give him different looks, but he's got to get something going. And then defensive pairings, I pretty much agree. Vlasic and Murphy, Vlasic and Jones is obviously going to be our 1-2. Just with how much you're paying both of them, those are your top two guys. And then I'm okay with Korchinski and Murphy. Martinez and Brody is a massive step up for your third D pairing.
Yeah, much better than Tenorti Zaitsev. That was hell.
Yeah, so I'm good with that. And then, as we just said, maybe Levshunov, Del Mastro throughout the season. Those guys, Nolan Allen maybe getting looks, getting Kaiser, getting games in. Healthy scratch, Brody maybe, and see what I think that lineup is so much better than last
better
year.
than people give credit for.
I think people are saying that this is like a bottom three team in hockey. I don't see that at all. I think there's teams in the Central, I think, that on paper are worse than this roster that I'm looking at. But Justin, if you disagree with some things.
Yeah, I'll go through my lineup. Shocking, I have Connor Bedard as a first line center. And yeah, I've decided to put both new toys on his wings. I've got Tyler Bertuzzi and Teuvo Teravainen. I just think the rationale for this is pretty simple. Like, you're bringing these guys in to help the Hawks, but really you're bringing them in to get Bedard more weapons. And I understand the rationale for keeping Kurashev with him, but Kurashev was really Bedard's only consistent option last year because Hall went out with an injury and Reichel was just disappointing. So they worked well together, don't get me wrong, but I think Teravainen will be an upgrade over Kurashev in terms of the skilled winger, and then Bertuzzi's just the perfect kind of gritty guy to have in there. He can kind of get in those dirty areas and get the screens and rebounds going, and get the physicality of the defensive game. And yeah, the second line, I got Hall, Nazar, Kurashev. I've decided let's throw Nazar in the deep and have the second line center. I know some people would disagree with that, but I think giving him some skilled guys like Taylor Hall and Phil Kurashev to work with would be great for him. I think he and Kurashev could kind of build some similar chemistry that Bedard and Kurashev did last year. I think Taylor Hall gave him the second line to start, maybe moving up to the first eventually, but he missed the entire year. You can't start him up front. So I think second line's a good spot for him now. And then the third line, I got Reichel, Athanasiou, Mikheyev. I think fourth line, nah. I mean, we want Reichel to bounce back. We can't be playing him on the fourth line. He's got to get minutes. I think ideally you want to be in the top six, but after the season he had last year, you can't put him up there. And I don't even know who he beat for that right now. So I have him in the third line with Athanasiou. He and the Greek god have good chemistry together. He definitely played his best hockey when Athanasiou was healthy. I think him being injured pretty much the whole season was a big part of why Reichel struggled last year. And then Mikheyev, kind of a similar type of player, a lot of skill, but not a lot of finish. I guess you could call this the all Swedish no finish line, 'cause there's a lot of talent, but we'll see if we're actually able to to convert on game days. But I'm pretty bullish for a bounce back season for Lucas. We'll see. And then the fourth line, I feel really bad. I feel bad having Dickinson on the fourth line center, because that doesn't feel right. I feel like he should be at least the third line, but I just like what he has with Nick Foligno. I think those two work so well together, and I wanted to have Athanasiou with Reichel, so that's kind of why I have him as a fourth line for now. I think those two are pretty interchangeable, though. You can kind of switch them. You can even call that the third line, then that the fourth. And then then Craig Smith as the other winger, with Donato and Maroon being the scratches. I think Maroon, I think he's probably going to be playing like every other night. You can't really justify having him in the lineup every night, but I do like what he brings from a physicality standpoint. And Donato, I just don't really see where he kind of fits at the moment, to be honest. I think you kind of swap that third spot, Smith, Donato, Maroon, just kind of keep swapping them. And then the defense, I'm with you. I haven't really changed anything. I think Vlasic, Jones, say what you will about Seth, he and Vlasic work really well together. And then Korchinski, Murphy. I think Korchinski played his best hockey last year when Murphy was healthy. When he went off an injury, his game definitely suffered when he was forced to play with Jacob Begdell. Let's not go back to that. And then the third pair, Martinez, Brody, big upgrade over what we had. And then I have Kaiser being the extra. And then obviously we got Mrazek and Brossoit. Although unfortunately we might have to suffer through Soderman for the start of the season with his injury. But yeah.
Yeah, I like what you're saying there. I understand kind of your rationale. I'd say my only issue is, do you say the fourth line would be like Foligno, Dickinson, and like Smith or Maroon?
You know what? I'm looking at this now. I think maybe you want to do Reichel, Dickinson, and then Mikheyev, and then you drop no, sorry, Reichel, Dickinson after the CU, and then drop Mikheyev to the fourth line. So that way Dickinson's a third line setter, and he's prepared with Reichel, and I think that's probably a better line, because Dickinson's a fourth line center. Probably doesn't make a lot of sense. He had a really good season last year, one of the more underrated defensive players in the league. But I just liked I like his connection with Foligno. That's kind of why I had him there.
Okay. Yeah, I was just worried about the speed issue there. But I see what you're saying. And yeah, just the reason why I want to keep Kurashev and Bedard is, do you think Teuvo Teravainen is part of Kyle Davidson's plan for the future?
He's here for like 4 or 5 years now. His contract. So that's not like he's not a 1-year deal like Taylor Hall is now. So maybe not the long-term future like Kurashev is, but I think you got to maximize Bedard's season here. And I think you get more out of a Teuvo connection than you would with Kurashev, in my opinion.
I just like thought, like, last year I thought they looked so good together in certain games and moments, and I think there's so much to build off of. And Kurashev's only a couple years older, so I think that if that was working, you keep it going. But I guess that's just like my plan, like my view of it. Like, if it was working and you're going to have these guys for a long time, why not let them go back to work together? But I'm sure Teuvo could also play on the left, and play with them. And
I've thought about that. You could just have both of them. You could have Teuvo and Kurashev playing Bedard, but then you have three skill guys though, and I don't know. I think you got to have like a Bertuzzi. I kind of see him being like the Anisimov to what Kane and Panarin was. I see Bedard and Teuvo being Kane and Panarin, and then Bertuzzi's like the Anisimov of that line, kind of gets in the dirty areas, kind of opens up lanes and just lets them do their thing. So that's kind of my vision, I guess. I totally understand keeping Kurashev together. I think that's probably what to do to start the season, but I think ideally once you kind of get the season going and you're in a swing of things with a healthy lineup, I like Bertuzzi and Teuvo, flanking Bedard.
Okay. Tasso, any thoughts?
Yeah, I have a few thoughts. I'm jotting stuff down, like just as you like a little roster lineup, and as you started, and then now I'm like looking at it and changing it a lot. I did have Lee's first line of Bertuzzi, Bedard, and Kurashev, but I thought you convinced me to put Kurashev down. I had those spots kind of open. It's a bit, I also followed Justin's path of putting Nazar as the second line center. I think this is an NHL where they want kids to take spots. Like, it's better to get your reps in the National Hockey League sometimes. I know the NHL is in a developmental league, but like, look at what Seattle's doing with Shane Wright. Like, he could have been playing NHL games last year. 100%.
He should be in the NHL. Yeah. For all this talk about rushing players, there's also something to be said for like when somebody's ready, just having them in the AHL for the sake of being in the AHL. I don't understand that.
Yeah, me neither.
It goes both ways.
Yeah. So I'd like to see Nazar play. I think that's like the trend of the National Hockey League for the most part. Like play a young second line center. Why not?
Yeah,
Like he could be
totally.
Quentin Byfield, you know, like a kid's unbelievable now, right?
Yeah.
So I have Hall, Nazar, Teravainen, and then the third line and fourth line, I kind of mixed and mashed it up a bit. Athanasiou, Dickinson, Mikheyev, third line. Athanasiou on the left wing, Dickinson down the middle. And then fourth line, Reichel, Foligno, and I put Landon Slaggert there just for fun.
Oh, I like that. That's
Yeah.
fair.
And then I have Smith and Maroon as my extras, and then you got to wave Donato probably in my
Yeah,
mind.
I don't see where he fits. Like I look at that, I'm
Yeah.
like, what's this guy? Yeah, what's he doing here? Like I don't know. I like Donato, but I just don't see them. Yeah, I'd rather
I
have
think
Slag
you're
on
gonna
the team.
see. I think you're going to see so much line juggling this year.
Oh yeah,
I just hope that they can Bedard can get chunks of games where he's playing with the same guys. Even if even if they're not doing the best defensively, if they're looking positive offensively and they're starting to build chemistry, don't fuck with that.
Yeah.
Let's all be honest here. Like this really is we're building around a generational player in Connor Bedard. That should be the focus this year.
for sure. That's what I think.
We don't even we know we have good draft capital this coming year. We don't it's okay if we don't progress that much from last year. But obviously we would like to see it, you know. So put Bedard in the best opportunities as you can. Make it less frustrating than it was last year.
I think just this whole conversation is just so refreshing. It's like this is a great problem to have. Like we have all these weapons for Bedard that we didn't have last year. I love what Kyle's done this offseason. Like that's the thing. Like you could switch it from night to night. One night you could have Bertuzzi and Tavo. The next you could have Kurashev and Hall. Like you could just totally fuck with the opposition and have all these weapons alongside him. It's great. I think it's good for Bedsy. It just sets him up for a great year too. And I'm really bullish on his second season. We'll get more into that, but
What do
I
you
think
guys
he's
think
gonna-
about let's get right into it because I could read you
Sure.
guys my D pairings. I mean, the only thing I had different was I put Levshinov in there and made Martinez the 7.
That's
And
fair.
yeah, I don't know if I took out anybody else. I don't think I did. No.
You love TJ Brody.
Well, I think he's better than the flack he got last season in Toronto because they were asking him to play the right side and the foot speed was tough. And that's a team trying to win the Stanley Cup or at least beat the Boston Bruins in the first round. And, they just couldn't rely on him. And, but he is a guy that can really intelligently play the right side. If, I don't know what you do with Connor Murphy. And I was going to pose some fun questions to you because, someone asked I think you asked Justin about Tavo and seeing if he's a piece on a long-term kind of situation. I think Teuvo Teravainen is more likely to stick around on a Stanley Cup winner as a third liner than some of these other players are to be around here when the Hawks win the Stanley Cup. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I agree. What's Murphy's contract?
Yeah, it's 2 more years, I think. This year and next.
2 more years.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
I don't see where he fits. I don't think.
I
he's
don't
gonna
think
be here for
anybody
next,
thinks that he's going to stick around.
No,
I
and
think
I'm not going to miss him.
And
Yeah,
I don't
that's
even know a
exactly-
team in the National Hockey League that would take that contract right now. Unless you're the Columbus Blue Jackets right now, maybe.
I don't think you even try to get rid of it. I think he's a good enough depth defenseman. I think he'd be a solid 5 or 6 on a good team. I really do believe that he's good defensively. He's not a total idiot in his own zone. Obviously there's not a ton of offensive upside, but he's a big body. He skates pretty well. It's fine. Keep him for a couple of years, and then he'll go to a team that's trying to win a cup and be the 6th defenseman on that team.
Well, so no, I mean, it's just an overall larger picture question because the Hawks' most prospects right now, you look at they have a lot of forward guys that we were talking about, but I don't know what the ceiling of an AJ Spellicy or Nick Lardis is. I'd like to think they're or Colton Dock, right? What is the upside of these kids, right? Can they score 80 points in the National Hockey League next to Connor Bedard? Which is and we're talking 80-point floor and then be able to do it in the playoffs, right?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of ifs in this system for sure, but there's a lot of intrigue. Like I see a lot of guys that. Here's the thing: Bedard elevates players. We talk about Phil Kershaw a lot. Phil Kershaw was a 20-point guy for 3 years in this league before
Yeah.
Bedard arrived, and all of a sudden he's a 50-point guy. It looks like he could be, a good second, first, top six piece.
Don't you got to
I mean,
play
Bedard,
the kids on the back end at one point though?
I'm sorry.
Don't you have
Yeah,
to
of
play?
course.
Yeah, you got to play the kids that you have for the back end.
Yeah, yes, you do. And they will. I feel like there's so many people that on the back end and on the front end. Like we didn't. You mentioned Slaggert at the end, but there's guys that are gonna be in and out. I think, and it's and Tassos, back to the point you made. Like they want these kids to prove it, and they're gonna get opportunities, and we'll see how they do. I hope Korchinski is solid enough to not go down to Rockford at all this year. I hope.
Yeah, I think that's a bunch of nonsense by all these insiders. I think Korchinski's a Blackhawk this year.
But-
You don't have that guy up here for a full season and then send him down. I think he showed enough flashes last year. I think he's an NHL player. I know he struggled a bit defensively, but when you're on the team that the Hawks were last year, paired with Jacob freaking Megna, of course you're not going to look that great. But I think it benefits him more to be up on the Hawks, playing this year.
But even what about a kid like Isaac Phillips?
That's different. Yeah, he should be in the AHL.
He should be in the NHL, in my opinion. Like,
You think so? No.
Yeah, I mean, if you're trying to see what he has, he should be playing in the National Hockey League. He's getting older. He's like 23 now, like almost 24 maybe. Like I think you got to I don't know why you brought in Alec Martinez, to be honest with you. Like have Phillips as the 7 because somebody's gonna get hurt. And then he'll play 50 games in the NHL.
I don't think they need to sign both Martinez and Brody. Like, I think one or the other was great. And it's kind of the same deal with the Fords. I thought they could have signed one of Maroon and Smith. I thought they didn't need both. But I think that was for a reason, too. I mean, we saw last year's team got hit the injury bug, and we had to get all these bunch of useless plugs on waivers. And clearly they wanted to avoid that this year. And it's like, yes, they want these young guys playing the NHL, but Davidson also been very intent. They don't want to rush them either. If they're not ready, then okay, then we have these guys up here, and then they're ready to take the spots when they're done. A lot of them are 1-year deals. I mean, Maroon Smith, Brody, not going to be, or Martinez not going to be around here much longer. Paul is 1-year deal as well. So, I mean, next year I think is the year where you really plug in these young guys. This year, bring in a couple, but not like this is kind of a stopgap year the way I look at it, I guess, from that perspective.
If you showed us like towards the end of this past season, a video of us right now complaining about having too many options, we would be yelling at the screens, telling ourselves to shut the fuck up.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
Because, dude, we just straight up had an AHL roster last year to end the year. Like, straight up, you had like 2 lines of NHL forwards and like 1 defense pairing that was NHL caliber. Like, it was atrocious.
It was so hard to watch. I mean, especially that month from January. Yeah, the January period with the Bedardless Blackhawks. That was like the worst Blackhawks hockey I've ever seen.
Like, what am I even?
That was terrible. And so Davidson admitted that. He admitted, you know what, I made a mistake. I didn't really take into account injuries the way I should have, and that's a big part of why he signing 7 additions this offseason. So is it a little more than they needed to? Probably, but it was for a reason. I think the logic makes sense.
Yeah. I don't hate him for it.
No, yeah. I mean, I have my issues with my only problem with Kyle is the Kane treatment, but I understand it though.
No, I agree with you. I think that I love what he's building, but I think he's almost a little too like stubborn,
Yes. I mean, why is like Tavo all great and cool to bring back of the old Hawks dynasty core, but then Kane isn't? It's like, oh, but it's going to be Kane's team. No, it's still Bedard's team. I never understood that logic. It never made sense to me.
I think he also kind of wants to distance himself in
from the beach stuff,
from the 2010 stuff.
Yes, And Tavo wasn't there, so
yeah. But still, I mean, come on.
It is what it is. That's a topic for another.
Sorry, Tassos, you want to segue?
No, I mean, I was just going to poke you guys a little bit more because I think we're getting into a stride here. Do you think eventually maybe the Hawks are in play for, like, I'm talking about acquiring a superstar at some point?
Yes. Oh, next year, yeah.
I'm talking this year. Do you think this year maybe, like, if there's a Mitch Marner trade to be had out there, or if there is
Mitch Marner.
Well, I mean, if we're talking about superstars that might be available right now, I know Mitch Marner has a no trade clause, but he might go to Chicago. Like, Chicago's not a bad place to play. I think there are probably other places that are higher on his no trade list than Chicago right now.
Timeline, how I think the Hawks, which also we should get to in a sec, is like kind of where we feel they are going to finish this year. Look, I think they're going to make a stride. I think they're going to move a couple places up. I think they're going to be significantly more competitive than last year. I think they're going to finish with 15 more points. And I think after this year is when you start going to free agency and look, what kind of stars can we add to this team?
Yeah, this is not a this year. I think this is a next year probably.
Yeah,
I think because we're gonna have more cap space too. And
yeah. Wait for the cap space. We draft who we're gonna draft, and then we say, okay, let's see who can we get. And I'm not saying you go get some 30-year-old. Like, I'm saying like,
a jet star.
Like giving up assets is what I'm talking about.
Yeah, that's what I was talking about.
This draft is the final. This is the big score. This is the last
Yes.
place. Like, after this draft, we've loaded up. Like, we're all set.
Let's go.
Next year is the year where it's like, I think playoffs next year is very possible. I really think so.
I told Tassos that at the start of this past year.
Yeah.
I think, and nobody agrees with us, but we're going to be right. I think they are going to be a wild.
No bias. No bias.
No, obviously. Why would I say any of this? No, but I do genuinely believe they're going to be fighting for a wild card spot next year.
I'm in agreement for sure.
I think a top 10 pick in this draft too.
Yeah,
like this is a good draft coming up.
Loaded of forwards, and that's like the last piece they need is like one more.
You get a James Higgins in here or a Porter Martone, like that kid.
Roger McQueen,
yeah,
sure.
Or even Michael Misa. I know, like he isn't maybe like an exceptional status player, but he's not Sean Day at the same time either.
I want a forward. I want the best forward possible.
Yes. Yeah, no, we need a forward. I mean, if you're gonna pass on Ivan, it's like, okay, fair enough. Then we gotta get that forward in this draft. That's the way I see it.
Or you can take Matthew Schaefer too, who wouldn't be a bad defenseman.
No defenseman. No defenseman.
Have you seen that kid play?
I don't. We have enough defensemen. We need to pick a forward.
But then trade three others. Trade three others, and your next year's first round pick and pick up Mitch Marner.
Dude, the thing is if I don't understand. My gripe originally with Leshonov, I'm happy to have him now, and it's like he's our guy. Let's go. I'm not gonna like continue to complain about it, but. Before the draft, I thought the second best player in the draft was Ivan Demidov.
Yeah.
And I feel like you always hear the GMs harp on, we're going to get the best guy available. We're not going to.
He said that after draft lottery. We're looking at the best player available.
No, they didn't do that. They tried to fill a hole on the roster, which was a right-handed defenseman. That's what he tried to do. And just be honest about it. Like, stop. Like,
just say we're looking at positional needs. Just say that.
Yeah.
Don't say we're looking for best player available because I'm sorry, I like Levshunov, but he is not better than Ivan. Let's just be honest here.
I went on Tassos' show before the draft and I said, you've got all these fucking left D prospects. Trade 2 or 3 of them for a righty if it's that big of an issue. But yeah, I think we've got a lot of defensive prospects that people are.
Our defensive core is going to be one of the best in the league, I think. No,
yeah. Go get another star. Go get another forward.
Yeah.
That's what I think.
Yeah, that's next year for sure. Absolutely.
Yeah. Maybe Trevor Zegras.
Oh, we get some dual Michigans going.
I would take a risk on him, but I wouldn't give up
not much. Yeah.
I don't want to give up much for him because it's kind of like a risk. It's like, I know he had a couple of really good seasons, but he's also kind of a bitch and is like a TikToker. And that's my same problem with Mitch Marner. I just think
he does not have that winning mentality.
They're just losers, man. Like, I don't want that. I don't want little sissy I want dogs. I don't think you're gonna win a Stanley Cup with Mitch Marner being one of your best players. Sorry, I just don't think it's gonna happen.
Yeah, but you'll get to the playoffs with Mitch Marner.
This is Chicago Blackhawks. I grew up so spoiled. Getting the
our childhood was so spoiled, man.
Yeah,
but we'll get back.
We're talking about a dynasty. All right, I don't want.
That's the thing. I'm not just satisfied with one Stanley Cup with Bedard. I want multiple cups. I want a dynasty of Betsy, man.
Yeah,
that's the mentality you got to have. Like, one's not enough, man. Let's get Kane Tays coming back. Yeah, let's get that mentality.
Yeah.
We, and we're going to have a lot of time this season to talk about this, but none of us really talked about the goaltending. when mentioning our lineups. Obviously, I
Oh,
think
yeah.
we know who the goaltenders are going to be, especially when healthy. It'll be Mrazek and Brossoit. And I know you're really high on Brossoit, but it's not, a top fledging goaltending tandem in the National Hockey League.
But it's just so much better than fucking.
Yeah, I mean, we don't have to deal with Arvid Soderblom this year. I mean,
Yeah.
maybe for the start because of
Yeah.
Brossoit's injury,
Like,
but
can we be
Soder,
honest? That's like just that switch, Soderblom to Boursois is like
4
six-
wins.
is like 6 points, 6 to 8 points.
Soderblom was the
Yeah.
worst goalie in the league last year, and
Like
Brossoit was one.
alone, that change alone gets you 6 or 8 points.
Yeah, and Brossoit was one of the best backups in the league, so it's an upgrade. I mean, obviously he's not going to be that way. Yeah, he's not going to play the way he did in this Hawks team, but he's good. He's an improvement. He's an upgrade. And
If
yeah,
Mrazek
yeah.
plays,
And Mrazek's underrated, man. I really think so. I mean, the way he
I
played
agree
last
too.
year,
If he plays even
when he's
close
healthy,
to how he
when
played
he's
last,
healthy.
dude, Justin, we saw these games. I mean, look, he probably didn't have the best statistics, and obviously they were one of the worst teams in the league. But man, he kept them in so many games.
So many games
He
we
had
had
them
no
for so
business
many
being in.
blowouts. Like,
I mean, he
was
is a National
really
Hockey
good.
League goaltender.
What?
He is an NHL goalie.
Yeah,
I'm more asking like, when do you get your Sergei Bobrovsky or your Thatcher
I think
Demko
you're-
or
we
your
have a couple good-
Shesterkin?
We have a
Shesterkin.
couple of good
One
prospects in the pipeline. We got Adam Gajan and Drew Commesso. I mean,
Yeah,
you hope one
Gajan.
of those guys pans out. If they both do, great, because then you have a great 1-2 tandem that works out. So if not, then I have a good chance one of them works out. So
and I'm gonna be honest. We saw teams in the playoffs this year have success with goalies that were not as good as Peter Mrazek.
yeah, that's fair.
The Edmonton Oilers.
We'll see. Anything else on the Hawks hour, or you guys want to go to break and then we'll?
I think there's one thing left.
Oh, what do you got?
Our thoughts on who the captain should be.
Oh, good call.
Good call.
Look, we know who the two candidates are. I'd be okay if it's Nick Foligno. I think he's a great leader. I think he's a great mentor for this team. But it's Bedsy's team. Just give it to him. Get everyone hyped. Sell the C jerseys. Sell the C jerseys. You're gonna have a whole new wave of people buying Bedsy jerseys when you give them the C. Do it. Just do it. Like, who cares that he's fucking 12 years old? He's a dog.
I'm in total agreement. And people are saying he's too young. Jonathan Toews took the C in his second season. McDavid was a captain at 19. So was Crosby. So was Landeskog. So this too young argument is a whole bunch of malarkey. I mean, you look at Bedard, he leads by example. Who's the guy who's last in the rink every single time practice? He's out there for hours shooting pucks. He leads by example. He's been a captain before Team Canada Regina Pats. I mean, Bedard is ready to lead this team. I absolutely think so. And just symbolically, it means a lot going from Jonathan Toews to Connor Bedard. And that's really what the C is. I mean, it's not having the C is not going to change Nick Foligno's role in this team. He was the de facto captain last year. He's probably still going to be that main locker room guy talking and stuff. But Jonathan Toews, I mean, oftentimes it was Keith and Seabrook who were kind of those guys, and Toews was more quieter, but he was definitely rousing when he needed to be. The C is more symbolic, if anything. I mean, why do you think the Maple Leafs went from Tavares to Matthews as their captain? I mean, that's what I'm saying. So I absolutely think Bedard is ready to lead this team and give him the C. Yeah.
And just talking about like that upper echelon of players that you just mentioned that got the C at such young age.
Mhm.
Bedsy is the next in line. He is the chosen one.
You think he's a generational talent, then why
Yes.
shouldn't he have the C at 19
Give
like
him the
David
C.
Crosby?
Give him the C. I'd give him the C, but that would be a total Kyle Davidson thing to be like, no, it should be Foligno. He's
Boring.
played a role for this. That's that total like
Utter woke nonsense.
That's that utter woke game gone.
It might
the
just be
NHL
he
just-
like thinks that it might. I mean, it might just it is some pressure, on Bedard to do that. I know it's not a lot of pressure, and they're gonna help him and teach him and
I think
guide him
this
along the
year-
way.
I think this year showed me that pressure is not a thing that affects Connor Bedard.
Especially, I think we're going to see a new Connor Bedard this year. I don't know if you've been watching the NHL
Much
like
better.
media tour stuff. He just seems so relaxed. He has just this aura about him. Like the media and the cameras just doesn't seem to affect him anymore, man. Like he just seems so relaxed. He's not like a deer in headlights like he was last year. So I really don't think slapping a C on him is really gonna. I don't think it adds a lot of pressure. If anything, I think it just adds more motivation, incentive to be the best that he can be.
Like,
I mean, this is what he's worked for. Like this is his team. This isn't Nick Foligno's team. This is Connor Bedard's team.
Yes.
So no, I love
That's fair.
Foligno. I think he's great, but
And I think Foligno's so awesome that I think he would tell you all the things you just said.
Yes,
He,
I think Floyd would rather be the captain.
He knows he's going to have the same role. He knows he's going to be the most
Yes.
vocal guy in the room, and he knows Connor Bedard is the best player and it's his team. He would say all
Yes.
those things.
100%. He knows his role here. Yeah.
Give Bedsy.
Why do you think the Hawks didn't have a captain this past season? They could have just given it to Connor Murphy, who's like the longest tenure, or Seth. Like, no, they didn't have a captain this year because they wanted to give it to Bedsy. I mean, it's pretty obvious. They wouldn't say that outright, but who else are they going to give it to here? I mean, yeah.
All right, that's fair. That's fair.
I agree. All right.
Do you know if those leaked Winter Classic jerseys, did we know if those are accurate or if that was just that
pretty
thing?
sure those are legit. I mean,
I think
those jersey leaks tend to be legit. I mean, pretty much.
Did you like them? Did you guys
Yeah.
like them?
Oh yeah, I think they're sleek. They look sick. I can't wait to cop one. Hopefully, if Nazar's on the team, that would be a nice jersey. Because I need to figure out who else on the Hawks team. I only have Bedard right now. I need to figure out who's the next jersey to get. So yeah.
I'm in the same boat.
Yeah.
I think an Artem Levshinov jersey.
Yeah,
would be really
That'd be
cool.
sick. Yeah.
Yeah.
It
by
would
the
be
way,
crazy. Nobody would own that.
By the way, I love Artie Party. Like, I know he's not the guy necessarily wanted, but I love him. I think he's the second best pick we could have made, and I'm very confident that he'll be a great defenseman for us. So I don't mean, I know I was talking a little earlier about Ivan. I just want to clarify. Big Levshinov guy. It's not anything in him. It's just
Problem is, though, again, not to harp on it, but if Demidov turns into Nikita Kucherov,
That's the thing.
We are going to say, I told you so.
Yes, 100%. Yeah. I think one more Hawks thing. Sorry, I know I keep saying that.
Go for it.
Let's talk about Jonathan Toews.
Oh yeah,
I got the shirt here, and I don't know if you guys have been paying attention to the post-retirement life of Jonathan Toews. Well, not official retirement. I know he's never officially said it because that's just such a Jonathan Toews type of guy to announce his retirement without actually announcing retirement, just leaving. But yeah, he's been like surfing. He's been at Burning Man. I don't know.
He's been on the Aaron Rodgers.
The psychedelics must be going crazy over there. But I think Jonathan Toews might be the most interesting man in the world. What do you guys think?
It's just so funny that he's like you're seeing a different side to him. Like, who is this guy? You know, he's posting on social media with like corny captions and like acting like an influencer. It's like, who is this guy? What happened? But it's awesome. God. You know, I mean, he's forever a legend, forever my captain. He chooses to retire. Power to him. I think he could still be an elite third center, second center on a really good team. I think any playoff team would salivate at the idea of getting Jonathan Toews in their locker room, but
I just think he's done, though. I totally agree with you. I think he could still play, but he's got nothing else to prove. And I think he's living his best life, and I'm happy that at least maybe 88 did it, but I'm glad 19 will forever be just a Blackhawk for life.
And he's got like what $100 million in the bank, so I think
he's doing okay.
He might be okay.
So you both earnestly think that that's like the book closed on Jonathan Toews?
Yes, he's done.
Yeah. I hope not, but he looks like he's having so much fun. I don't know if he wants to come back to hockey.
Yeah, as much as I love to see it, I mean, I don't think it would be a fuss. That's the other thing. Like,
you won 3 rings. You made $100 million. You're a future first ballot Hall of Famer. Your name's going to be in the rafters. Your number's going to be in the rafters. You might have a statue outside the arena. What more,
Oh, yeah, no. Kenny Toews will definitely have a statue right by Makita at Hall. Yeah.
Yeah. So.
All right, we're going to hit a break, and then when we come back, we will talk about the rest of the National Hockey League as training camps open up on Thursday. We will see you all momentarily.
Adios.
Can I go get a beverage?
Yeah, I need to refill my water bottle.
How much time? How much time have we done? Tassos?
All right, we're back from break. We're going to talk about the rest of the NHL. We were talking before we got off break. I asked those guys about a potential star that they would want to acquire. And Lee, what was the name you brought up right before I said let's start the show back up again?
Said Brady Tkachuk.
What
Just because of his tenacity, the type of player he is. In my mind, that is a playoff guy. That is a player that wins championships. I would take him over Mitch Marner in a heartbeat. Just because of the other things he brings to the table besides, scoring and passing. If you're giving up assets for a guy, it better be someone that you think is going to, especially like a star like that. Like the Hawks, right before 2010, the big splash they made was Marian Hossa. That was the guy they got. And I mean, that is the perfect like star talent, can do everything offensively, but is big, fast, will run through you. Just a savage, Those are guys that you want. You've got Bedard, you've got guys like Kurashev and, basically all these prospects that the Hawks have, most of them, they're all like fast skill,
That's the Davidson game plan. It's like speed up front, size in the back end.
If you're going to go for somebody, go for a dog. Don't go for another like a kind of softer skill guy. That's how I see it. And I think I trust Kyle Davidson to also feel that way. You can't win a Stanley Cup with just like speed and talent.
How much do you think it would cost to pry Brady Tkachuk out of Ottawa?
I don't know. He's got doesn't he only have like
locked up? He has like 6 years left.
I don't think it's happening.
Oh god.
No, I mean if they miss the playoffs and it's not even close, and
Ullmark
walks,
how awesome can it be playing in Ottawa?
You traded Jacob Chikrin for Nick Jensen, right?
Yeah. Does he really want to stay there his whole career? You saw his brother did it. Like after watching his brother leave, kind of a shithole place in Canada to come to a better team in the US.
What the fuck is a kilometer?
Yeah, literally. I think I could totally see him doing it. It would take, first of all, a good team. Like we'd have to look really good in a year or two. And then I think in 2 years, we can start talking about giving away firsts and seconds. Like
that's like a 2 first rounder plus plus Seth Jones plus your best prospect.
Oh, I'd love to get Seth Jones out of here. I think we should call up Stan the Man for that move.
Yeah, no, that's a whole different
2026, whose contract is up there. Let's get McDavid over here. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, no, we're stuck with him. But
yeah, unfortunately.
Also, I don't hate Seth. We would all like Seth Jones if he
wasn't making $9.5 million. He was making like 6, 7.
Well, the cap's going to go up, so it's not.
It's not hurting us right now too, because like he's actually helping us make the floor. So I mean, not this year, but last year. So it actually isn't hurting us right now.
But the number's going to look less bad in like 3 years.
Yeah,
it's Seth is a good defenseman. Like we give him a lot of crap, and I make a lot of memes about him because that does well. But he is a good defenseman, and especially with Vlasic. I mean, with Vlasic, that was a great pair this past season. I feel like they perfectly complemented one another, and I love Vlasic's game. He's really like the next like Nick Hjalmarsson, I think, for us. I'm really excited to see what he can be for us, and I feel like he really gets the best out of Seth from analytics and just perspective. Yeah.
I agree. The only comment I'll make about the cap going up is I don't know if that's necessarily going to turn into like being able to get more players. I think what's really going to translate to is you're just going to start overpaying for the same talent. And so if you think about it, we were just earlier to the curve. We were just like, yeah, let's overpay this guy early. Stan Bowman was really ahead of his time. And just decided to give Seth Jones a salary cap.
Stan Bowman knew the allegations were coming in his job. He was could be out of here, so he gave us one final parting gift, and that was that.
That contract. But nonetheless, not sure what's going on with Tassos.
Sorry, I got a phone call and it screwed up our live stream, and
Oh.
I'm trying to fix it. That's okay.
Are
Do you guys want to get into the Crosby extension?
Oh, sure. Yeah, I mean, how about the 2 by 8.7? He keeps that $8.7 million a year contract going, which I think he's had for his whole career post his ELC. It
Got it.
just goes to show, he's always willing to take one for the team and have these team friendly contracts. I mean, he's putting up 90 points a year. He could usually ask for more than that, but he is 37, so there's that. But no, he stays low to Pittsburgh. You love to see it. I mean, I know some people were making these ridiculous rumors up about him like leaving, but you can't imagine Crosby another uniform, and I'm not shocked that he's going to play out his whole career there.
For me, it's just such a shame, though. It's like he's taken these smaller contracts, and like, how do they repay him? Like, they just traded away Jake Gensel this season. Like, the team is gonna. I was just looking at that roster. That team's gonna be worse than they were this year.
Yeah, I mean the McGordy trade does help. I think there's some potential there, but I agree with you. I don't think they're a playoff team.
But he's only got two. He's is Rutger McGroarty going to be putting up 30 goals?
No.
I'm
I'm just
not.
saying. Yeah.
Um,
Their depth of the team is not there, and the core guys besides Crosby are all getting worse. So yeah.
it's so old. They don't have depth. The goaltending is sus at best.
No, I agree.
Or the best of this generation. But yeah, Pittsburgh is unfortunately. Well, I was never a Pittsburgh Penguins fan, really, or a Sidney Crosby fan. But you got to tip your cap to a legend like that.
Yeah, I mean, how about this organization? Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, but how about this organization? Staying loyal to their 3-time Stanley Cup champion and franchise player. It's such a nice thing to see, and I couldn't imagine another situation where a franchise would turn their back on their 3-time Stanley Cup champion and franchise player.
Who would ever do that?
Yeah, who would? Yeah, I mean, and 2 of them. I mean, imagine once, not 1, but 2. Yeah.
Yeah.
But different situations, though. We understood the rebuild was a necessity, and it's helped us out. I mean, we have a great future. And look at Pittsburgh. I mean, it's great for them to keep that legacy going. But now it's like 2 more years in mid, and you're just putting off that rebuild, which they should be rebuilding the Penguins, but they're not going to be for now 2 more years because as long as Crosby's a Penguin, they're going to still think of themselves as a playoff team. Just as the Capitals are always going to think of themselves as a playoff team with Ovechkin. And I know they were a playoff team this past season, but were they really? They weren't really in that series. They got swept. I mean, yeah, so there's that.
No. And yeah, I mean, if I was a Pittsburgh Penguins fan, I would want Crosby to leave. I would want to see him go and chase a ring with his last couple years and then start that rebuild. That's what I would want. That's what I wanted with Patrick Kane. I didn't want them to hold on to Patrick Kane because I saw the trajectory of the team at the time and I was like, get my goat out of here and let me root for him on another team that's going to contend.
Yeah, it's not the trading. It's not the trading of Kane that I had a problem with. It's the fact that we could have brought him back. And
Now that's how I feel. Now it's like, I kind of would like to see him back because this team actually has hope and talent.
Yeah. And Taves was a different situation with the health and all that. That's totally separate.
Yeah. But yeah, I was a Pittsburgh Penguins fan. I wouldn't want him to sound like, dude, you're one of the greatest ever. Don't do this.
Yeah, go for one last cup. Go for a nice ride in the sunset. Yeah. You're not going to win anything these next 2 years in Pittsburgh.
Go play in Colorado. I don't know.
With McKinnon, that would be special. Yeah.
That's how I would feel. But I mean, good for Sid.
Yeah, I'm not surprised. Legend. It's just the guy he is. I'm not surprised he's staying.
Not making the playoffs. Sorry. But wish him all the best. I'm sure he's still going to be over a point per game this year.
Of course. And I thank him for laying the groundwork for Bedard's next contract when he signs the 8 by 9.8.
Yeah.
He's definitely going to be making way more than that, but I could try to speak into existence this that he's going to take the team friendly deal, just like his idol, Sidney Crosby. He would do the same. So yeah.
Could you imagine if he did that though, like an 8 times 9.8?
That would totally set us up, man. Holy.
It would. Does that? It guarantees us at least 1 cup.
He's making enough money with all those sponsorships of the Gatorade and Sherwood and Lululemon. I don't think he needs to be asking for these extra 2.34 million. I think he can take that 9.8, but I don't think he's gonna get as much as he can. And
he should. And if
he should.
yeah.
And he deserves it. Like, for if it's me, give him whatever
Yeah,
he
no,
wants.
no, no.
Second.
For sure. Pay him everything, you know?
Yes, I mean he is he is this franchise.
The reason
so.
why
But,
the reason why cap hits matters because it's a percentage of the cap. You know, like not because
Yeah.
it's a certain number, right? Like Connor
Yeah.
Bedard is probably worth $15 million a year. Like
Yeah.
he's just that percentage of the cap. Hockey's different. It's hard. There's a lot of people you got to pay, and it's like a question of do you want to be deep after that, right? And how deep do you want to be? And yeah. So I mean, if he took like that's why the 8.7 thing sticks out to me is because the cap has gone up since he signed that however long ago, over a decade ago now almost, and or at least by the time it's up, he'll have been playing a long time. Chris Johnson had a tweet.
Can we just like talk about that really quick? Like Sid taking that pay cut. I feel like what that does is if you take a discounted rate, I feel like that takes so much pressure off you because you're taking a smaller percentage of that cap space, and it's more about the other team after that. Like why I scrutinize these guys in Toronto so much is like it's always like, oh, the rest of the team isn't good enough. Oh, like it's like, no, you're paying these guys like a third of your money is going to 4 guys. Like they have to be doing at least a third of the production on their own. You know,
that's not how you win Stanley Cups. It leaves little room to fill out the rest of the roster, and then you have a lack of depth, and depth is what wins, come playoff time. So it's just not a formula for success for Toronto, and yeah, they need to get themselves out of that.
Yeah, I agree. Do you guys want to do kind of maybe some projections of
some standings?
some playoff pictures?
Yeah, I got a little template here. Yeah.
Cool. Do you want to start with how you see the East shaping out first?
Yeah, certainly. So first, Atlantic, I got Panthers. That's pretty easy. I mean, they really didn't lose much, which is pretty impressive. They kept that core together. They lost Montour, but that's not huge. I mean, you didn't have the season he did the year before. He's a replaceable player, and yeah, that team is just so perfectly constructed,
Replaceable
so strong.
is a strong word for Brandon Montour.
The way he played last season, not the year before.
Yeah, I mean, he really didn't. He wasn't that massive of a role in the playoffs. Like
no, but he's really good.
Yes,
he is, but he's not like if you have to part with someone, I prefer him over like
not a guy that's making or breaking that team.
Yeah. But yeah, I got Florida first. I think they got a good chance to go back to back. I'm kind of in between second. I actually got Toronto second, and then Boston third. I think Boston drops back a bit this year, but still in the playoffs. So and then I got Tampa at fourth, and then I have Detroit in fifth, and I have them in the playoffs taking that last wild card spot. They were 1 point off. Well, I guess they're tied, but yeah, they missed out by 1 point this past season. I think they get in this year. And then I have another year about the playoffs for Buffalo in sixth, Ottawa seventh. Even this one, though, I feel like Montreal maybe might not be last, but I still have them last. So that's the Atlantic. Yeah, would you like to go with your predictions for the Atlantic?
Yeah, I'm going to go Florida first, Toronto second. I think I'm going to go Tampa Bay third.
Oh, okay.
I'm not high on Boston. I don't think they have forward depth at all.
Yeah, losing
obviously
Omar Kurtz
is elite. Defensively, they got McAvoy, but
there's some question marks after that. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think
the depth isn't the same. Yeah.
I don't think they're that good, and I don't think they're going to be that good. So yeah, I'll go Tampa third. I'll go. I don't know. I don't think it's going to shape out where the exact same teams. Like I think that Buffalo or Detroit will make it. I'll go Boston fourth, Detroit fifth. All make the playoffs because let's be honest, the Metro sucks.
Yeah, no, 5 teams in Atlantic is pretty, and then 3 teams in the Metro. That's definitely the way I see it playing out. I also see it playing out that way with the Pacific and Central, but we'll get to that. Yeah. But yeah, I guess we could switch to the Metro now. Yeah, I got New York in first. That's pretty easy. Then I have New Jersey bouncing back. I think they're due for a bounce back. Their problem last year was goaltending, and they solved that. I think it's a strong roster in paper. I have them finishing second. Carolina finishing one spot back in third. Still a strong team, but they did lose a bit, so that's my justification for that. Then they're the last playoff team in that division. Fourth, I got the Islanders, and then fifth and sixth, I feel like pretty interchangeable. Washington, Pittsburgh, I think battle mid there. I think neither team making the playoffs, and then yeah, I got Philadelphia seventh, and I hate to put Columbus eighth, but I hope they could kind of rally around Johnny this year. But I hard to justify him not being eighth at the moment. Yeah.
All right, I'm gonna read off mine now.
Go ahead.
I'm sketching it out right now. Sorry everybody for the technical difficulties. I've said numerous times, first time doing this, so it's not really for the people watching it live currently because I don't think anybody's watching this live right now. But it's more for the people that are gonna watch this after that. Apologies for all the mistakes, but just know we're trying new stuff and figuring it out. So, I agree with you guys that it's gonna be 5-3 Atlantic Metro, but for the sake of having fun, I'm gonna do 4-4 from each. Give me the Panthers top to bottom. Panthers, Leafs, Tampa Bay, and Ottawa Senators 1-4, followed by in order Buffalo, Boston, Detroit, and Montreal.
Well, you really think Boston's gonna fall?
Yeah, well, no, I think it would be fun. I think Olmark is gonna hurt. Swayman isn't signed. You're asking Charlie Coyle to really replicate something that he might not be able to do, or just maybe not at that exact level. So Pasternak is awesome, but Brad Marchand's getting older, and he had 3 surgeries this summer, and
also the thing that has made, to go off your point, after you just said that, I started to agree with you more than what I said. What we've been talking about Boston being so great these past couple of years, especially just in the regular season, is how good their goalie tandem is, and how they don't have a 1-2, they have a 1-1B. That was their identity, and they don't have that anymore.
And now they have one of the worst backups in the league, Jonas Corposalo.
And I understand that Swayman is unbelievable, but the guy is not going to play 70 games.
He's not going to be the same playing the higher workload. You think?
Yeah. So I think that, and everything that Tassos just mentioned.
Not a lot of depth.
I love the pick to say that they're not going to make the playoffs. I think that they might not,
but they always do. And Charlie
that's the thing. And the coaching
McAvoy's
so
a horse.
Yeah.
He will eat up half the ice time the entire season. Amongst all 6 defensemen. I don't know.
Yeah, I love him.
And if they get Swayman signed, he is, if not one of the best goalies already in the National Hockey League, he's turning into it quickly.
I think he's top 5.
The Detroit though. Detroit. I thought you guys would be more shocked that I had Detroit second to last in the Atlantic.
They're kind of frauds. They're kind of fraud. If you look at their roster, they've got 2 really good lines. They've got high-end talent, but the defense is shaky.
The defense is rough. Outside Seider, it kind of sucks, to be honest.
Yeah, Alex Lyon's pretty good. He's pretty hot and cold, though. He's not very consistent.
Talbot's an upgrade, but it's not going to move the needle. But I just think they're going to score so much, it's not going to matter to me. I think that offense is. I love those top 2 lines. I know it kind of drops off a bit after that, but I think they're going to cook enough. And I think Raymond Seider, got to get him signed, which they will. But I think they're going to keep getting better. And I think two basically top lines there. And I was going to be biased towards Kane DeBrincat, so that's another reason I want Detroit in the playoffs. So that is 100% a biased pick. I don't know if they're actually going to be in the playoffs, but yeah.
I really did like what you said. So I don't even hate that. I could see. I don't think Ottawa would be the team. I think it would be the Sabres. I think they have a stronger roster than Ottawa does. But I like that you're mixing it up, and I think that you're not going to see, just statistically, betting wise, it's not gonna be as predictable as the same teams as last year. It's just not how it works.
Yeah, I think speaking to like we said, or like I said with Swayman, the fact that the Moritz Seider and Lucas Raymond situation doesn't look like it has any clarity, I think is a big problem for the Red Wings. So how they figure that, how quickly they have the cap space, which is super weird to just figure this out. I know the rumor out there is that Yzerman doesn't want them to go above Dylan Larkin's 8.7. I think he makes.
Wow, 8.7 today.
Yeah, right. Yeah, so I have no idea what that resolution but if you're missing Seider and Raymond, that's a big problem. So
Oh yeah, if those two don't, yeah, then they're fucked. But I'm
Yeah.
assuming that they get that situation resolved.
Lucas Raymond is a dog, by the way.
Oh, he is. I love that. That guy reminds me of he's like a Swedish Kane out there. He's
Yeah.
very talented.
All right, so then my 4 in, 4 out in the Metro, and then we can move over to the West. New York Rangers winning the division. I have the Carolina Hurricanes in second place right now. I know everybody's pegging them for a step back, and I know the roster does look like that on paper, but they have a history of getting players to play above what they should be. So I wouldn't even be surprised if a young kid like Bradley Nadeau steps in. Electric. I mean, he'll probably play a little bit with the Wolves this season, but he should be ready for full-time role in Carolina. They got just like good players. The thing about the Hurricanes though is that they lost what was arguably like the best 2 defensemen that could have walked out the door other than Jacob Slavin, which was Brady Shea and Brett Pesce, you know? But I still have them finishing second. I just, there's something about that organization that just always shoots above what they should. They'll probably still lose in the first or second round, but they'll get there. New Jersey third. They're probably, you could make a case they're the best team in the division, but yeah, I just think that there's a high chance that there's going to be injuries along the way. It's not going to be super linear, and they'll finish third. And then I have the Pittsburgh Penguins making it fourth. I don't know. Just why not? It would be really fun. I don't think that's actually going to be the case. Like I said, I think it'll be a 5th Atlantic Division team, whether it is Buffalo or something like that. And if you want to talk about, or we could save this for another day and move on to the West, but the Buffalo Sabres, if they don't do anything this year, that's an organization that is gonna blow heads. Like heads will roll in Buffalo. If
The problem with Buffalo is I want to put them in the playoffs, but I feel like we say the same thing every year. Like this is the year they're gonna do it, and I'm not moved. I'd love to see it. I'd love to see it, but I don't know who they beat out in that division.
yeah, it would
I
have
don't
to be
know.
like
Yeah.
have to be like Boston and Detroit, and they'd have to beat on.
One of those guys has to fall off. Yeah,
I you could interchange Pittsburgh, that my pick in there, for like Washington, maybe, if they have a good season, like a lot better of a season than they did. It's going to take a higher cut to get into the playoffs this year. I don't think as high, because Washington was like a fight. The last year's playoff race looked like them and the Philadelphia Flyers and the Penguins. Like none of them wanted it. And
yeah, no, that was
before we move on to the West, like, yeah, I don't think the Caps or the Pens are gonna make it. I just want to say that people that think that like the Capitals got like a little bit better this year, adding Pierre-Luc Dubois, they had the 6th worst goal differential this season. The 6th worst.
I don't think the liability Dubois is going to help with that.
They were so bad, and they just somehow stole games. You can't replicate that. You can't just do that again.
It's not sustainable.
For aging roster, it's just not going to happen. I think they're going to finish towards the bottom, maybe in that 6th, 7th spot. And I think New Jersey is going to. I have Rangers, Devils, Carolina.
Yeah,
the Devils scored more than everybody else in that division last year, besides Carolina and New York Rangers. But just their goaltending and their defense their goaltending was abysmal, and they addressed that. So I think that's a clear top team. I think Carolina got a little worse, as you said, Tasso. So I think that's my number 2 team.
All right. Well, yeah, I don't know how it's going to shake out at the bottom, but, I don't think the Islanders are very good. We didn't even really say the Islanders once.
just the definition of mid. That's what they are.
I think they're better than the Capitals and the Penguins.
If Sorokin is on it every night.
They're just so boring to watch, man. Every time Hawks play the Islanders, I almost fall asleep, man. It works. Credit to them. It works, but
Islanders, if you want to talk about mid, the Islanders are the king of mid. Like,
yes.
Their big superstars, Matt Barzal, who, I mean, I'm not super. Maybe it's because he's on the Islanders that I'm not super high on him. But it's like, if that's your best superstar, like, it's just they have a whole team of like 2nd and 3rd liners. So they like get close to the playoffs.
It's just defensive trap hockey. It's that 3-1 system, yeah.
Gross.
1-3-1, yeah.
Gross. But anyway,
Yeah.
let's move on to the West. Where-
Okay, I'll start at the Central. I got Dallas win the division. I think probably after the Oilers, I'd say they're the strongest threat in the West to win the Cup. I got Colorado second. I know some people haven't fallen off because the depth isn't the best there, but I think they have so much good like top end talent there. I think they're still now locked for top three. Then I got Nashville move up to third. I mean, it looks like a dangerous team. The additions they made this offseason, Stamkos, Marchessault, and others. I think, yeah, they're definitely gonna be a team to watch this year. Winnipeg in fourth. I think they're still a playoff team. Like, well, they're a good regular season team, but they're not going to do anything in the playoffs like they always do. And then in fifth place, I have I was going to say the Coyotes, but the Utah Hockey Club. I actually have them making the playoffs this
Yeah,
year.
man.
Yeah, I think that's I call it a hot take, but I think other people have said that too. But I definitely could see that. I think they've just been steadily making, progress. And they're going to be a playoff team last year, if not for all the relocation rumors. I think that's kind of what they lost their focus and they kind of fell off at the end of the year. So without all that, with a fresh start, with a team that's on the rise, I think that's a playoff team. And sixth, I got, well, the Islanders version of the West, in regards to mid, is the Minnesota Wild. I have them at sixth. I think the salary cap situation doesn't help them. Maybe next year they can be better, but this year is still kind of the same. And hear me out for this one. For seventh, I actually have the Chicago Blackhawks. I do not have the Blackhawks finishing last in the Central. So yeah, I have us finishing ahead of the Blues, who I am not sold on. And maybe it's just because I don't like the Blues. Maybe I'm biased, but I think some people are highly overrated them going into the season. Think that these Holloway and Broberg moves suddenly make them a playoff team, and I don't see it, man. I think this is a team that's going down, and I do not see them. I think we have a good chance of finishing ahead of them this year because I think the Hawks can put up, I don't know, 75-ish points, maybe 80 this year, and St. Louis maybe in the 70s. So that's what I think. But yeah, that's my Central Division thesis.
Lee, you want to go or you want me to go?
You can go.
Oh, thanks.
Oh boy, they're
Oh
gonna
my
rip me to
God.
shreds.
What teams are in the Central Division? No, I'm trying to figure out if it's going to be 4-4, 5-3, and which way I'm heading. I agree with you. Dallas and Colorado at the top of the Central. I think you got to put the Predators third. With the Steven Stamkos could score 40 goals this season, and so could Jonathan Marchessault. That wouldn't be, or maybe 35 and 35 each. Like that could totally happen, and that's a lot more goals into your sticks. A tentative Winnipeg Jets in fourth place.
Yeah.
Cole Perfetti talking about some of these unsigned RFA. I mean, that's a big storyline for me going into training camp is the guys that are not at training camp and why they aren't and what's going on. But Cole Perfetti needs to take a step, and to do that, you have to be at training camp. And, they can't run in, like they always run into the same problem of playing Connor Hellebuck too many games. And I don't know that, you just, like Brossoit was back there, right? He went back to Winnipeg last season before. He won the Stanley Cup with Vegas, then he was in Winnipeg last season. Now he's on the Hawks. Yeah.
That's right. Yeah.
And he didn't even really play as much as he could have, and Connor Hellebuck looked exhausted in the playoffs, and I don't know. So a tentative Winnipeg at fourth. I really like your Utah Hockey Club pick.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, you could put them in there. I think St. Louis still has a lot of work to do. I love Kyrou and Thomas and Parayko and what those guys do, but Torrey Krug being out for the year hurts a lot. Jordan Binnington's inconsistent, or at least consistent at being inconsistent. And yeah, I think St. Louis is like kind of on those bubble teams. I don't know. And then I do have the Hawks finishing last. I know that's a tough spot to be in. But hey, if you're doing this show or a listener of this show, just know it's only up from here. Yeah, I don't know. What do you got, Lee?
I'm going to go Dallas first, as we all said. Great team, good goaltending, so much depth, star talent, everything, young players, old players. I've got them first. I think they're going to win the conference. And then I am going to go with the Nashville Predators in the second slot. I think they were one of the most underrated teams last year. I think they have the most underrated first line in the league with O'Reilly and his Swedish meatballs. And then I love UC Saros. I've seen him live several times. I think he's the most underrated goalie in the league. They just signed him to a big contract. And then, yeah, you bring in guys like Marchessault and Stamkos. Now you've got legit talent and the depth that they had that actually got them to the playoffs last year, surprisingly. I'm having them as my second team. Third, I'm going to go Winnipeg. I know you'd think I'm going the Avs here, but I'm high on Winnipeg's roster. I think they've got depth. I mean, that first line's really good, as we all know. One of the best goaltenders in the league, pretty good defensively. I think they're going to do pretty much what they did last year. Finish with well over 100 points. And then in fourth, I've got the Colorado Avalanche. Look, Nate McKinnon, Cale Makar, two of the best in the league, but they are fucked. I mean, Gabe Landeskog, who knows when and if and how he's going to look when he comes back. They lost Nichushkin forever, probably. I don't know what the deal is with him. If you don't have Nichushkin and you don't have Gabe Landeskog, worst case scenario, how is that team going to finish above Winnipeg and Nashville? I don't see it happening. Obviously, I think McKinnon will probably put up another MVP type season, but I still don't think that's going to be enough to be better than Winnipeg or Nashville. And then after that, I'm going to go with the Minnesota Wild in the fifth spot, also making the playoffs, I think. I'm high on their roster. I think they've got a lot of talent. I think they kind of were like the Devils of the West this past year. I think they've got so much talent, and it was just like it just didn't work this past year. I think they're significantly better than the Blues and the Blackhawks and Utah. After that, I'll go Utah. I don't think the roster's that good. They've got young talent. I guess you can maybe say, I don't even want to say they're like a year ahead of us because we have Connor Bedard. So it's like, are you?
Yeah,
really
that's a cheat code. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, are you like no? I would not take their roster over ours. I'll put them there at sixth. I'll go us or St. I'll say us over St. Louis.
Yeah, there we go.
Louis is ass, low key, and I think I think the Central and the Atlantic are easily the best divisions in hockey.
Oh yeah, 9
So I think I'm going to go 5 and 3 as well here, and Pacific.
I can start Pacific.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, so I got.
Wait. Before we get into the Pacific Division, I want to give a shout out. So, one, you were talking about the Colorado Avalanche. I talked to Avalanche beat reporter Brennan Vogt today on the Good Morning Hockey show. And so for those of you that are tuning into this and maybe don't tune into that, go give it a listen because it's just an audio podcast. And I'm not here on live looking like a dummy while I'm trying to figure this out. So I look better to them because they're seeing me through the Zoom on my phone, which is positioned to having me look nice. But so I did want to give a quick shout out to that Good Morning Hockey, the show I do every morning, Monday to Friday. And then the Forum Blues. Forum Blues is coming out today. Rudy Hodgson and Jordan. What's Jordan's last name? I'll get it. Yeah, but his name is Jordan, and they're gonna do a show about the LA Kings, and I think it's gonna be really cool, really fun. Yeah, I'm pumped. His last name is, come on now, Jordan Bacani. So be on the lookout for that. We're recording that after this. They're gonna do once a week, so it's gonna be a different kind of show. Like this is more. We're talking to you guys about the Hawks. We're talking to you about the NHL, like what's going on the day that we're talking about it. Theirs is going to take more historical spins. It's going to be a bit of a more artistic, creative thing. I think they want to try, like us, want to try and appeal to a younger demographic of Los Angeles Kings fans. Jordan lives in Los Angeles. Rudy's born and raised there, and is one of the bright up and coming broadcasters for hockey in Chicago right now. So definitely give a listen to that before we talk about the Pacific Division, because they may be able to articulate a little bit of it better, but maybe not too. So yeah, now you can get into. You got to throw in the self promo there, especially on the first episode.
Oh, of course, that was very snazzy of you.
Yeah.
Yeah, so for Pacific, I have Oilers first. I think for me, they gotta be the Stanley Cup favorite going into the season. Either them or the Panthers. I know it's boring to pick the same two teams, but the way I look at it, they both look like the favorites in their conferences. But the Oilers, I have a hard time seeing them not win the cup this year. I have them first. And then I got Vancouver second.
My phone's about to die.
Yeah, I
Sorry.
got Vancouver second. Then yeah, I got Vegas third, and then they take the final playoff spot in the Pacific. I have just those three teams. I think it's pretty easy picking those three, and then after that, it kind of gets trickier. I got LA fourth, just outside the playoffs. I think still a strong team, but I don't see 14 Pacific making it. I think it's gonna be five in the Central, three Pacific, and I don't see either Edmonton, Vancouver, Vegas, not making the playoffs. I see some people having Vegas out, but they always find a way, so I have them still in the playoffs. And then fifth place, they got Seattle, kind of more of the same. Like I think it'll be a similar type of season where they're just kind of mid. And sixth place, they got the Ducks. I think they'll take a step. They'll be better, but still a ways away, just like us. I actually have the Sharks in seventh. I don't have the Sharks finishing last in division. That might be a hot take. I think they're going to be significantly better this year. I mean, it's still going to be one of the worst three teams in the league, but I actually have them finishing ahead of the Calgary Flames, so I have finishing last in division. I think that team is a mess. I think they're finally realizing they need to rebuild. I think you're going to see that they've gotten rid of a lot of their best guys, and I think the Sharks can overtake them in the standings this year. So that's kind of my hot take for the Pacific. But yeah,
All right.
Yeah.
Lee?
Yeah, I think I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go Edmonton first because I think McDavid and Draisaitl are gonna be freaks this year. Just pissed off about losing this past year. I'm gonna go Vancouver second, and then I'm gonna go Vegas in the third spot with LA in the fourth, not making the playoffs. I don't think LA is a good team. I don't think their goaltending is good. I don't think their depth is as good as people act like
you're
it
gonna,
is.
you're gonna piss off this LA podcast, man.
Yes. The boys at the LA podcast can tell me why I'm wrong, but I do not think that team is very good. But I still think that they're better than like Calgary and Seattle. And then I think you're going to see the same two teams on the bottom. And I don't think the Sharks are going to be better than the Ducks, but I think they'll be not as bad as they were this past year.
All right, so I guess I'm coming in here hot take city. I mean, so yeah, I mean these LA guys are, I have to tell them that we all picked them out of the playoffs because I do have LA on the outside looking in. The
They're
more
gonna
I'm
take that
thinking about
personally.
it, I'm taking 4-4 right now. So give me Edmonton, Vancouver, Vegas, Seattle taking the fourth spot.
Oh,
I think Chandler Stevenson's going to do a lot of heavy lifting there. Like that guy was so good in Vegas, and you now have him supplanting some of the minutes, maybe the harsher ones that Matty Beniers was being tasked with. You're integrating Shane Wright into the NHL. That kid's going to be unbelievable. And I think just Stevenson was really big to Vegas winning the Stanley Cup. And I'm high on Montour. Like they needed a dynamic right-handed shot defenseman, and they went and got that. So give me Seattle to make the playoffs if the goaltending holds up. I have LA like just on the outside. And then, you got I'm going to pick San Jose actually to finish the highest out of the three of them.
oh wow. Okay.
Anaheim, and then I have Calgary in last place in the Pacific.
Yeah, we're in
actually.
agreement there.
Yeah, I don't know what they're doing there. I mean, unless Dustin Wolf is really good, maybe they'll get a few more points, but I think it's going to take him at least a year to really understand what it takes to be a full-time starter. And because I think he's going to take the job from Dan Vladar, and they're going to figure out something to do with him. But you gotta have these guys play more like Jacob Peltier and Matt Coronado, and they're gonna make mistakes, and you're probably gonna move on from a couple other pieces that you have. I don't know that Nazem Kadri is long for Calgary, so yeah, and I just think San Jose is gonna be like, I love the Tyler Toffoli move. Will Smith and Macklin celebrate like that's must watch television for me every single day that they're on
Sharks
TV.
could be a lot of fun to watch this year for sure.
Those dynamic players are going to be really good. The Askarov trade is, you got your goalie of the future. So if he's not terrible, then you're not going to be terrible, right? He's going to be eating a lot of pucks, that's for sure, eating a lot of rubber. But
yeah, I just think that you're starting with all these super young players. I think they're going to struggle early. I think they're going to get beaten up, and so I think that just a little pushback. I do think that they're still going to be ass, but you're going to see moments.
Yeah, but we're talking about 3 of the worst teams in the NHL here now.
Yeah, I don't want them to finish last because if they had the best odds again, win the draft lottery again, you add Higgins to that. Yeah, we got some problems because they're already gonna be a problem as is, and I really don't want the Sharks win the lottery this year because I think in the West for the future, I think they're gonna be our biggest. The Hawks
They have
biggest
3
issue.
first-round draft picks this year. Or no,
Yeah.
Nashville has 3 first-rounders this year.
Jesus Christ.
They have their own.
It's a random team.
They have Vegas's from because San Jose got Vegas's from the Hurdle trade, and then they traded it to Nashville for Askarov. And then they have Tampa Bay's first rounder from the Tanner Jeannot trade, which is absurd. Like that, Tampa could miss the playoffs, and Nashville could go to the Eastern Conference Final with their former captain and have 3 first-round picks in what could be a pretty good draft. I think the NHL is about to be absolute cinema for all of us. Like, I think this is
yes.
Yeah, like I think a lot of
It's
this
gonna be a hell of a
stuff
season.
is
Yeah.
how this breaks and what some of these teams look like. Like some teams are really under pressure to make something happen. If you're Buffalo, if you're Winnipeg, if you're Minnesota's a bit of time, I think, but because you have these those young kids. I forgot to mention Minnesota too. They have if Rossi plays well and if Faber does what he did last year, and maybe you give one of the goalies a run, because I don't think Marc-Andre Fleury's at this stage right now. That's going to be like a play once in every barn kind of deal for Marc-Andre Fleury. I don't know. So I'm into it. I'm pumped for this season. What else you guys got? Anything?
I think that's good for me.
Yeah, no, I think we covered a lot today, and I think we cooked.
Yeah, I do too.
Looking forward to the next one.
This is going to be a lot smoother in by Wednesday. This will be a lot smoother, but just bear with us. If I have to say anything, Rudy Hodgson said it best to us a few days ago. It's give us a shot. If you're coming to us from Justin's page and you've made it to this far in the show, bear with us. We will get with the program a little bit and figure it out. And, this is going to be a really good show. We have a lot of fun ideas, and these guys are rock stars that we're working with. So, this is going to be a really exciting hockey season. One of the most excited I've been for a hockey season in a really long time. And I've, worked in the sport, and it's not as exciting as sometimes this is, right? So, happy to be here with you fellas.
Hell yeah, no, I'm really excited to
Absolutely.
be here. Really excited to work with you guys, and I think this project has immense potential. I'm excited to see it grow, and to the followers listening to us, we appreciate it. And just like you said, just stick with us. We're gonna get better over time. It's only up from here, just like the Hawks. It's only up from here. Great potential.
Yes, sir.
So
I will not be running the lives, hopefully, most of the time. Maybe some of the time, but hopefully most of the time. This was just out of necessity today, and we wanted to put something out. So, catch us Wednesday. Or are we doing it live, fellas? What do you think? Did we like the live thing? I didn't hate the live thing.
we'll do it live. Fuck it.
Yeah, we gotta talk about time though. We just gotta figure out time.
True. True.
Afternoon, right? Around 11ish.
On Wednesday? I thought we said in the morning. Oh well, that's the morning. 11 is in the morning.
For me, for 10 for you.
Fair.
I won't be able to do that, but we'll figure it out, boys.
All right.
We'll figure it out.
We'll
Okay.
we'll figure it out. Yeah.
Yeah.
You will know. All right. Well, we'll see everybody on Wednesday.
All right.
See
Peace
ya.
out, boys.
Oh, I should probably cut the sound. Whoops.